Hi everyone, welcome to Learning Management Systems and Video-Based Learning by Anitra Thompson. So in this presentation, I'll begin by explaining what a learning management system is and how it has evolved. And I'll then explore current LMS platforms and the criteria used to actually evaluate them, and then followed by real-world examples. And then after that, I'll discuss video-based learning, and that includes how video programs are categorized and what makes them effective. I'll conclude with, of course, my key takeaways, and that'll be just about how these technologies support online learning. So what is a learning management system? A learning management system, or LMS, is a digital platform that is used to manage all aspects of online learning. So that includes content delivery, communication, assessments, and tracking student progress, so some analytics. And it acts as a central hub where instructors can organize materials, or they can assign their work, and even monitor student performance. So what makes LMS platforms especially important in distance education is that they bring together multiple functions into one system. This really helps create a structured and consistent learning experience, which I would say is critical, especially in an online environment where students most likely feel disconnected. LMS evolution. So LMS platforms originated in the late 1990s, and they were really just used as course management systems that would probably more so focus on delivering content and just organizing those courses. But over time, they started to evolve to include communication tools, multimedia integration, and then of course collaborative features as well. And today, LMS platforms are highly interactive and integrated systems that support engagement. So they also support communication and data-driven instruction too. And this evolution reflects a shift from simply delivering information to actually creating more engaging and then student-centered learning environments. All right, and getting into current LMS platforms, I would say some of the most widely used LMS platforms today includes Canvas, Moodle, Blackboard, and Brightspace D2L. And I can just name those from memory because I work with them every day in those specific four. So I know that they're definitely the most popular here, or really in the United States. And while these systems actually share core features, they really do differ in usability, and then customizations, and then also they differ in integration capabilities too. And for example, Canvas is probably known for its more modern interface, and it has really strong integrations. While Moodle offers more flexibility as more of a open resource platform. And I would say that might be at the bottom of my list for these. Moodle is used by not too many from what I can tell, but maybe just a few of my actual instructors that I work with. So I thought it was neat that LSU actually uses Moodle as their platform. But anyway, back to how these are all similar and what makes them different. So I would say these differences actually matter because they directly impact both courses by design and by the student learning experiences. And since I work with all of these, multiple times a day, I could probably easily write a 20-page slide or a 20-slide presentation on which of these I like and which ones I loathe. So once you get into selecting an LMS, it's really important to evaluate more than just its features. So for example, usability determines how easily students and instructors can navigate the system, which of course directly impacts engagement. And integration ensures that the LMS can connect with tools like digital courseware and assessment platforms and digital courseware like Cengage, where I work, in our program or our online learning platforms. And also you go into analytics here. So that allows instructors to, track student progress and identify any areas where like support might be needed. And while scalability actually ensures the system can grow with the institutional needs. So I would say these criteria highlight that the LMS selection isn't just about technical decision. It directly influences like teaching effectiveness and also student success. So why LMS selection matters? I would say this definitely matters because it has an impact on both instructors and students. So for students, a well-designed LMS would improve navigation, it could improve engagement, and then of course the overall learning experiences. And then for instructors, it affects how easily they can just manage the content, or even communicate with their students and look into analytics, what features there. And if an LMS is really poorly designed or really not aligned with what the instructional goals are, it can really create barriers for supporting learning. So I would say this really reinforces the idea that technology should support pedagogy and not just drive it. So I've personally seen way too many students drop courses when they just see the instructor's LMS course structure. That first day when they're able to log on, I've seen quite a few do that. So speaking of, in my role with Cengage, where I work, we actually integrate with LMS platforms like Canvas and Blackboard and the others. And our Cengage learning platforms like WebAssign or MindTap, that's the most popular, allow instructors to like embed content or different assignments and even do assessments directly into the LMS. So they can make those in our MindTap and then integrate them into Canvas. And I think one key feature in these LMSs, it would be analytics. That's something I really always look into, and this helps instructors track student engagement and how their performance is in real time. From a customer success perspective, I support instructors in implementing these tools effectively. So this highlights how LMS platforms are used not just to deliver content, but to support structured and data-informed learning. While I don't work with like a single institution that just uses like one LMS, I do regularly work with all four of at least the top LMSs. And these systems are often chosen because of their strong like integration capabilities, usability, and just the ability to support large scale course delivery, make sure that can actually handle it. And specifically with my time at Cengage, I can see that a lot of people are moving more into intuitive design, and they try to keep some flexibility there, and that's what they look for in their LMSs. And if they don't find the right one, like for example, it can maybe take hours just to create a course. For example, I know some LMSs lack like a bulk editing capability. So for example, instructors have to move like one assignment each out of different modules into a different section. And if you have 14 assignments and you're moving all those individually, it starts to take a while if they just have like a drag and drop feature, and not, no bulk editing. So now we get into video-based learning, and video-based learning, or just VBL, is an instructional approach that uses video to deliver content. And this can be live or it can be pre-recorded videos. And VBL really enhances learning by combining the visual and auditory elements. And that's making like a more, it makes more complex concepts like easier to understand. And it also provides, the flexibility, allowing learners to engage with the content at their own pace. So different types of VBL is like explainer. So this is when videos introduce concepts, or tutorial or demonstration videos, which show how to perform tasks. And then of course you have the interactive videos, which include embedded questions or little prompts. And then AI generated videos, which, are our emerging category, and it really allows like the scalable content creation. So I would say each of these types serve a purpose, a different one, and it supports learning just in different ways. So why VBL actually works is because it supports multiple learning styles and allows students to learn at their own pace. It also increases engagement at making content more dynamic compared to like just text-based instruction. So this makes it especially valuable in online learning environments. And one of the most important best practices in video-based learning is managing cognitive load. So this refers to the amount of mental effort a learner is using at one time. So if a video includes too much information or unnecessary details, it can overwhelm learners and make it harder for them to probably process and retain information. Next would be segmentation, and this is really just like the practice of breaking the content, into smaller little manageable chunks rather than presenting like a whole really long video all at once. And this is important just because learners process information more effectively when it is presented in these smaller sections. And just watching longer videos, can cause a little bit of fatigue. Their attention span won't last long enough, especially when it's online. Another one would be just interaction. So this would actually include embedded questions or prompts or different activities that would require the learners to think about the content as they watch it. And one example I have up here is Visible Bodies, which is just a program that has 3D models, and they can explore all these concepts visually and even project it onto their desk. They can have a little skeleton standing up on their desk and stuff. So that's something that has really emerged here recently for interaction, at least, especially with AR and VR. But now we get into accessibility. So this is another critical component that a lot of people just don't think about, but accessible videos ensure that, all learners, including those with disabilities or different learning needs, can actually engage with the content. So, providing closed captions or using clear audio, or designing visuals that are easy to read and understand, at a glance for sure. And I just think these would come naturally, and they would all help. And especially if you keep something cluttered, like a cluttered PowerPoint, it could really hurt visually. They may not be able to see it well. So just thinking of that stuff. And in LMS environments, accessibility features are often built into video tools. So that allows instructors to create that more inclusive learning experience for them. All right, now we get into key takeaways. So key takeaways are LMS platforms provide the structure for online learning, while video-based learning enhances engagement and understanding. And together, I would say they create effective learning environments when it's used intentionally. And technology plays an important role in online education, but it depends, or the effectiveness depends on how it is used. And then lastly, I guess thoughtful design and implementation are probably key to creating meaningful learning experiences. All right, and here is my list of references, and as always, I'll have the slides linked on my website, so you can click into the presentation and click on the links directly. And thank you all so much.